There's nothing like raising cattle in Hawaii. There are ranches and grazing lands on nearly all of the islands, and for the men and women who care for their animals and their land each day, their job is filled with challenges and rewards. Hawaii's landscape and climate is incredibly varied, and that variety directly impacts how they care for cows, raise calves, and manage the state's natural resources.
Well, gosh, Hawaii is a whole different bird from most any place on the mainland, in that you can go from an extremely arid climate to extremely wet within 10, 15, 20 miles. So, and within a real close proximity, not very many miles. So it creates a whole different variety of situations and pluses and minuses on how you run your operation.
There's a lot of extreme contrasts, and so it's important that the cattle are able to adapt. Our cattle really have to be adaptable from sea level all the way up to 8,000 foot elevation, and from dry desert country to more wet rainforest type area.
My dad said we got this piece of ground because no one else wanted it, and it's kind of the truth. It's one of the toughest, most rugged pieces of real estate that a cattle operations run on in this state. But oh, what do you got to say? You love it because it's not an easy piece of country to work. The animals have to want to work with you to make it work, because you can't cowboy this country. It's rough, the lava is relentless, unforgiving. If you think you're just going to run out there and do something, I've fallen in a hole. My horse, my dog, everything just fell right in a lava tube. So the country's non-forgiving, and you have to work with it. And I'm serious. When it's raining, cattle don't want to work, livestock don't want to work. But a beautiful morning like this, and everything wants to work.
Hawaii ranchers are experts in raising cows and calves. Some ranches finish their cattle on grass and market their beef to local stores and restaurants. Others ship their calves to the mainland for finishing in feedlots. Either way, all of these operations are dependent on managing grass to keep their animals healthy and growing, while ensuring that their natural resources are maintained.
We have a huge variance in our microclimates and our annual precipitation in a very short relative distance. So it gives us the ability with intensive grazing to adjust very much to where you are on the mountain and to your pasture and weather conditions.
That really is the only advantage we have for ranching in Hawaii, is that we can grow grass year-round. And so in order to do so, though, we do have to have rainfall year-round. Mother Nature, when she gives it to us, she's pretty generous, and when she decides not to give it to us, it can be pretty tough business. But for the most part, managing that resource, that's our primary responsibility. That's what we focus on. We do a lot of rotational grazing. We try to manage the forages so that we have an optimal amount of cover, basically try to prevent the weeds from coming in as well.
One thing with handling our cattle with intensive grazing, we're moving them. Some herds will move every day, some will move every other day, just depending on where they are and the size of the paddocks they're in. So our cattle are really used to having people around, and they're most times they're waiting for you at the gate. They'll tell you when it's time to move.
You know, you graze them one way for a cow-calf operation, another for stockers, and then you got to really get intense when you're finishing cattle. And every little hiccup can mean a big gap in gains. We think we're headed in the right direction, and we just got to just keep our eye on the ball and make sure that we continue to improve it every chance that we can.
Again, you know, grazing is a year-round occurrence when we have the opportunity. And so managing that forage resource is key to our success. So we do some intensive grazing where we move the animals fairly quickly, and every couple of days we'll be moving these animals to a different pasture, and that allows the grass to recover quicker.
The cow is the foundation of each herd in Hawaii. Ranchers work to match their cattle breed to their landscape and climate, and they manage the genetics of their herd so their cows have the ability to thrive and produce the highest quality calves.
Mama cow that you just drove past would weigh 1,300 to 1,500 pounds. Just a mile that way, a cow can't weigh more than 900 pounds. Just, that's how diverse this country is. The soil out there is thin, relatively new, eruptions and dust blown in from other eruptions. Where the land can support a bigger cow is there's pockets of deep soil, more mature soil types.
You know, because we have such a diversity of climate and altitude, the Angus Charolais cross, which has been more market-driven than environment-driven, has worked well for us here. I think because the cows and the bulls that we use are born here and are acclimated locally.
So we're looking out for the nutrition of that cow when she's pregnant. We're looking out for the nutrition for that cow and that calf when she has that calf at her side and is raising her up. We're making sure that, you know, we have all of their needs taken care of, whether it's mineral, nutritional, just low stress, the fact that they can enjoy every day of their life, having all the food they need, all the clean water that they need.
I'm going to breed a little under 650 cows this year, and I have 2 separate breeding herds. One we breed in January and one we breed in July. So we've got 2 times we've got calves and 2 times we hit the markets in the mainland. All my calves go to the mainland. Some go to Oregon and most of them go to Texas.
We basically run primarily Angus cows on the ranch, and we have 2 breeding seasons. We try to match it with the rainfall that comes throughout the year. So we have basically 2 production cycles going on all the time. We're primarily a cow-calf operation here, but we've been transitioning to raising more cattle for local beef production as well.
My vision for the future of ranching in Hawaii is a growing grass-fed or somewhat grass-fed beef program here. Most of the cattle are shipped out of state, and I certainly hope that we can develop the industry here in Hawaii where the cattle are kept here. It's more green, if you want to call it, but it's also something that would add to the food security of Hawaii. If we can develop infrastructure and demand in Hawaii to keep the cattle here, it'll be good for everyone.
Beef production in Hawaii has been one of the stable primary sources of agriculture. We've been a very resilient industry. There's a lot of opportunity for us to continue to be a large part of the food production. We see it actually increasing over the years. There is opportunity for us to do so. The forage resource, if we can take advantage of that, we can probably double our beef production for the state of Hawaii.